What it do, y'all? Hit that like and subscribe button. Had my Outcast t-shirt on today. You know, big boy, 3 stacks. Shout out to the ATLians. But what made me want to post today is that I was watching the draft last night. Got through the first round. You know, big Laker fan. Got the boy Dalton Connect. Nice pickup. And then today, the Lakers ended up grabbing Bronny James, who is the eldest son of LeBron James. And as I scroll through social media, I'm just getting off from work. So as I scroll through social media, I see a bunch of posts from ESPN, from the Bleacher Report, and it's a lot of videos, of course, even the video Bryce James shared of his brother getting drafted, where, you know, he was emotional, clearly. It was an emotional day. Getting drafted into the NBA is not something that happens every single day. And so, rightly so, this young man was emotional. And it's like I see two different tones about him being drafted. I see people that are ecstatic because it is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Having an active player play well enough to where he's even able to play long enough to play with his kids. I don't remember that ever happening before. So this is about to be the first instance of it really happening. Or I see people trolling. I see people hating. I see people pointing out the fact that Bronny James only went to the NBA because of his connections with his family, who, of course, his father is LeBron James, the GOAT, in my opinion. That's right, I said it, the fucking GOAT. And, yeah, and so my reply to them, to any person that seems to like have a bitter tone to Bronny James being drafted and blaming it on his parentage, all I can simply say is fuck you. Because this ain't the first time or the first case of nepotism. You see it every fucking day. Okay? You see it every day. Probably on your job. The president, he got his golfing buddy's Phil's son-in-law on at the company. Or somebody hired their daughter-in-law. It happens every fucking day. I hate to say, but white people do it all the time. And this is how they advance. This is how they reach higher levels of society, by doing favors. I'll bring your son on and you hire my son. You see how it go? But for some reason, people seem to have an issue with LeBron James using his connections to get his son into the NBA. Why is it such a big deal? I'll tell you why. Because he's black. That's the number one thing. And I also got something for the people that want to point out the stats. Point out that he only averaged 5 points or so. To point out to that, you can easily look at his history and see that he had a heart issue that occurred. And so that kept him out for a good portion of the first part of the season. And so they were rightly concerned about this young man's long-term health. And so they didn't rush him back to play. He didn't play huge minutes early on. He still was getting himself back into game shape. You know, he still was kind of worried about the heart issue. You know, he was on medication for it. And I think it came out that it would be something that he would probably have to deal with his entire life. So that was a lot on that young man. And you got to think, okay, there's how many players they've been drafted that didn't have extremely large numbers. People want to point out Bronny James scoring 5 or 6 points. Marvin Williams went number 3 overall in the draft and never started a damn game. You understand? Never started a damn game at North Carolina. Yet he still went on to become a top 3, top 5 NBA pick in the first round of the NBA draft. He averaged maybe 9 points. He had extreme athletic upside. Sounds familiar? You know, Bronny most likely probably would have been drafted had things played out the way that he thought they would play out, not with having the injury that, you know, that loomed over his career almost to the point where he didn't even know if he was going to be able to continue playing basketball. You know, I just look at it and think like people really don't give things the time and research that they deserve. Because you could have easily looked up and saw this shit. But I ain't gonna hold y'all too much. Y'all be easy. Y'all take these. And hit that like and subscribe button, man. We out.